Go ahead and begin.
Now, just as Moses did in the book of Deuteronomy, I'm going to lay down the law a little bit. Deuteronomy 31 verse 6 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. The Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." This verse is not the only important thing about Deuteronomy. The history, author, and stories in Deuteronomy make it a very unique book of the Bible. However, I chose this verse for a specific reason, and that reason is that it fits with my theme, courage. So, if you look at your handout now, according to dictionary.com, you will see the definition of courage: the quality of mind or spirit that enables a person to face difficulty, danger, and pain, basically without fear. I listed a few examples of courage beneath them that we might face today. So, such as facing your personal fears, like some people are afraid of heights or afraid of, like, let's say, giving a speech, and accepting tough responsibilities and admitting you're wrong. That's one of the hardest things teenagers have to do, is admit they're wrong to their parents. And if you flip that back over, I will continue talking about how everybody needs courage. Everyone needs courage because, like I said, we face many difficult things throughout our lives, and we need God to get us through them. I picked courage as my theme because it also has to tie with my confirmation verse, which also happens to be Deuteronomy 31 verse 6. I chose this verse because whenever I was in 5th grade, I was with my grandpa at his job, and he has a route that he goes on. He works for John Deere, and he's a delivery man. Well, when I was with him, he got out of his truck while I was still sitting in it at the Sedalia parking lot, and he came back to the truck and said that he was having a heart attack, or that he thought he was having a heart attack. He sat in his car next to me, and me, being only in 5th grade, started to freak out a little bit. But I had the courage to tell my grandpa that he needed to get help, so basically I had to boss him around a little bit. I told him he needed help and that he needed to go inside. And when I went inside, I was talking to the man in charge, and he gave me a Dr. Pepper in order to calm me down. And they life-flighted my grandpa out from the building, and I had to sit there as a 5th grader, all by myself, with a bunch of strange people trying to comfort me. That took a lot of courage to sit there. So shortly after, a verse was pointed out to me by a couple of teachers because they knew how scared I was from that event. And this happened to be one of them. And ever since then, I fell in love with the verse and eventually made it my confirmation verse. So now that I've told you a little bit about the theme of courage, let me tell you a little bit about the history of the book that it came from and why this verse fits my theme. So, according to the Concordia Self-Study Bible, pages 242 through 243, the author of the book of Deuteronomy was Moses. He wrote the book around 1406 BC, and it was when he was going into the land of Canaan. Well, he couldn't go, but he transferred the leadership over to Joshua and was saying farewell to his people. He wrote the book for God's people, and the purpose of the book was to emphasize the law, and it was written from deep down in his heart in a somatic form. This verse fits my theme because it says we need to have courage. Like at the beginning, it says, "Be strong and courageous." It basically is saying that we shouldn't have any fear because we've got God with us through it all. However, Deuteronomy is not the only place where it can be found in the Bible. Other Bible verses that have to do with courage are Psalm 27 verse 1, which says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" It says we have nobody to fear because God is going to be with us through it all. We have courage because we know that we can trust in Him. Another Bible verse that relates to the theme is Isaiah 41 verse 10, which states, "Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." Again, the same thing. God's with us. Nobody's going to be against us. And the last one that I have, 1 Corinthians 16 verse 13. Says, "Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong." And then again, short and simple, it tells us what we need to do. So, these verses from the Bible help support my theme of courage, but one specific story from the book of 1 Samuel does that as well. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the story of David and Goliath, taken from 1 Samuel 17, 1 verse 53, or 1 through 53. According to the Concordia Self-Study Bible, page 370, the author is not known, but I still think it's a very important book. So in summary, what happens is Goliath is from the Philippines. He is huge. He is a big guy, and he has to face his opponent, David, who is a young shepherd boy. He's small, he's tiny. So like Ricky was talking about, him versus LeBron James playing basketball, that's about the difference we're talking about here, maybe a little bit more. What happens is David is chosen to go out and face Goliath. He has courage, and he trusts that God is going to be with him through it all. He knows what he's doing. David takes his slingshot, loads up a small pebble in it, and flings it at the giant, knocking him down to the ground, killing him. Not only does it take courage to stand up to a giant, but in the next video I will show you, it also takes courage to accept responsibilities. This video is called The Final Speech from Courageous. It was uploaded to YouTube by Jeff Cope, and it is the original film. The speech that it's actually from is from the movie Courageous, and the director is the actor himself, Alex Kendrick. So he directed the film and also gave this speech, but it fits with my theme of courage, so I figured.
Courageous could join us in this resolution. In my home, the decision has already been made. You don't have to ask who will guide my family, because by God's grace, I will. You don't have to ask who will teach my son to follow Christ, because I will. Who will accept the responsibility of providing and protecting my family? I will. Who will ask God to break the chain of destructive patterns in my family's history? I will. Who will pray for and bless my children to boldly pursue whatever God calls them to do? I am their father. I will. I accept this responsibility, and it is my privilege to embrace it. I want the favor of God and his blessing on my home. Any good man does. So where are you, men of courage? Or are you fathers who fear the Lord? It's time to rise up and answer the call that God has given to you, and to say, I will. I will. I will.
So being courageous is not always about facing your fears, but accepting the responsibilities you have that God has given to you. So like I said, Deuteronomy 31 verse 6, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Not only is this verse in Deuteronomy important, but the whole book is important as well. But the verse is important for all people because it demonstrates the theme of courage, along with the few other verses I showed you and the story of Goliath I showed you. This applies to believers and non-believers because believers know that they can be strong and courageous and trust in the Lord. Unbelievers know that somebody's always going to be with them. It gives them reassurance and encouragement. I've learned over a few years that having courage is not always about facing your fears and living to tell about them. It's also about accepting the responsibilities God has given to you and trusting that he will be with you through it all.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you.